Hey everybody. If you're
Hi.
Hi. Hey everybody here and everybody watching this. Steve and I have the privilege of spending some time with Katie Monacelli today, otherwise known to some as Katie BKind and the creator of BKind City here in Buffalo. So we're really happy to have you with us, Katie, and thanks for sharing. And we can't wait to talk with you.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. All right,
Welcome.
Katie. So as we get started here, I'm going to ask you a quick icebreaker question. And we really admire and respect everything you've done as a female entrepreneur. And we're wondering, are there any other female entrepreneurs that you're aware of, whether it's in Western New York or in any of the other like geographical spaces that you travel in, that you would like to highlight? And maybe we can help promote them and help bring some awareness to other female entrepreneurs.
Oh, that's okay. There's so many.
And you don't have to pick one. Maybe you could, if it's one or two, that's okay.
Yeah, doesn't have to be one person. Yeah, give us your top two or three even.
Okay. So the first person that comes to mind is a girl that I met recently. Her name is Courtney, and she runs something called L. James Interiors. And I was drawn to her because she sells all sorts of different things, but one of which is sage, Palo Santo, some really beautiful things like that. And what I really loved was she isn't just selling a product, she's educating on wellness. So I thought that was a really cool thing. And it's something that I brought into my home. And I just love having her stuff. I think she's great. She's a good one.
Okay.
And where can you find her stuff?
So you can find, she's local to Buffalo. And if we can possibly maybe link her social accounts,
We will do that.
I'll send that over, and that'll probably be the easiest way to find her. And then her website is right in her bio.
Awesome.
Great.
So that's a good one.
Thank
When it comes to entrepreneurs, my brain goes to business, but I want to maybe take a different route. And I think that there is an incredible human that I have taken kind of into my world, and she's someone that works with me a lot, and I love her. Her name is Maddie, and I love her because she has an incredible story about overcoming bullying and just the tough things about being a kid in grammar school, high school, up towards college. And the reason why I love her is because I'm 35, she just turned 22, and I get so much wisdom from her. And I think it's been that way since she was 19 and I met her. And as what you consider an adult, if I consider myself that, to be getting wisdom from someone so much younger, I think that is incredible. So she speaks a lot on personal growth. She's very authentic and very honest about it. And I think that in a space where we spend a lot of our time in the social world, in the social media world, that is so focused on having a particular image, I think finding something that is authentic and relatable is refreshing. And I think it balances things out. And I really love her approach. I love her honesty. And I think that a lot of young girls and young guys and really anybody could find some comfort in what she's putting out there. So
Great.
I would love to link her too, because
Awesome.
she's
Yeah.
a very good space to find yourself in.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Kate.
Thanks for that, Katie.
Now, you and I have known each other for somewhere around, I don't know, like 10 or 12 years, something like that. And everybody sees where you're at right now. Can you just give a little bit of what were you doing before you started BKind City?
Sure. So before I started this, I wasn't really doing, I'd say I was doing a lot and I was doing a lot of nothing at the same time. So I was bartending. I was bartending for probably over a decade. And what I loved about it was that it gave me freedom. It gave me a schedule that I didn't have to adhere to someone needing me to be somewhere at 8 o'clock till 5 o'clock. And I loved that I could spend my days going on adventures, which is something that we used to do a ton. And that's what I loved about it. What I didn't love about it was, even though I was in that age bracket of your 20s when you are probably at your primo spot of partying, there was always this part of me that had this emotional like dissonance where, yeah, I loved it, but there was a part of me that struggled with it. And I wrestled with that, where I would allow myself to get swept up into the party, but the next day I would hate myself for it. So it was something that it gave me a lot of freedom. It gave me time, and I met a lot of amazing people. But see, when we first met, when I first went to Morocco, I remember sitting and having a conversation with a woman there who was in the wellness space. And I told her, I was like, I got to get out of bartending. I just got to get out. And I spent another 9 years doing it. So I think there was always this part of me that felt pulled towards people that had some kind of spiritual component to them, people that were a little more in touch with that. So when I started doing BKC and it kind of pushed me into the wellness space, I just kind of let it take me there because it's kind of where I wanted to be.
Awesome. And did you have like a burning your boats moment where you knew that this was the last day of your shift there and you're like, I'm out? What did that look like?
Kind of. So when BKC started to kind of gain a little momentum, in the bartending world, if you ask off for a Friday and Saturday, that's like a big no. So I started to need to ask off all the time for markets and events and things like that. And it kind of got to the point where I was like, I think I need to make the shift. But that was something that I could depend on. I kind of knew how much money I would make all the time. And I really didn't know if BKC was going to be able to support me. And someone said to me, they're like, all of the energy that you're putting into this other thing, if you transfer that over to this, imagine what you're capable of. And then someone else said, you don't need BKC to work. You like that it works, but it doesn't need to work. If you take your safety net out of there, you're going to figure out how to make it work. Yeah. So I remember the last day that I went into bartending, I had this kind of moment, like that moment when you move out of a home or an apartment that you love, and it's like, I'm never going to be this version of myself. And it's this weird shifting where it's bittersweet, where you don't really remember all the annoying things that you didn't like about it. You are just kind of grateful that it got you here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Great. Yeah, I love that. That's a lot of good advice also that you just shared there too.
No plan B. No plan B.
Yeah.
And just betting heavily on yourself to figure it out.
And I think you have to have a good support system around you, because it's always great when you have the most confidence in yourself, and that's great. But at the same time, I think I needed a couple people around me to say, you can do it. The only person standing in your way right now is you. And I think sometimes you just need like that 2 or 3 people to just say like, you're going to be okay. And I remember I was actually at a yoga event, and there was a girl that I love that came up to me. She just walked by me. She was with me for maybe 4 seconds, and she said, "You're on your path." And that's all she said. And she walked away. It was that moment. Yeah.
I need to start doing that to people. Just walking past people, be like, "You're on the path."
And it was like, she didn't stay to say anything else. And it was almost like that moment where you get chills and you're like, oh my God, someone sees it. Maybe I am on my path. Oh, I am on my path. Okay, cool. Now I can go forward.
Yeah, it's like, how many times do you need to hear it from somebody else to believe it in yourself?
Yeah, sometimes a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's this thing I've been hearing people say, imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's something that I personally have struggled with, because there's this thing that says what messes you up the most in life is the image of what you think it's going to be. And you stick to that. And it's the same kind of thing we were saying earlier about Jordan Peterson. You walk into a conversation and you prepare what's going to happen, then you don't really have room to move. And it's the same thing like with traveling. If you go in with this huge itinerary, you miss all the other things that could possibly happen along the way. So I think what kind of is tough is when you have an idea of what you think it's going to be and you don't allow yourself to just let life kind of take you.
Yeah, like the people are going to knock on the door right now and be like, sorry, we'll take it from here. We got this.
Yeah.
When it comes to imposter syndrome, like
Yeah.
we're the real people. We'll take it from here.
Yeah. And like, there's a part of me that thought I knew what I was going to be in this life, or how I was going to make money. And I think that's an interesting thing is people always say, oh, what do you do? And I saw something that says, don't ask people what they do. You're just asking them how they make money. Ask them what they've always wanted to do. And I think that I always wanted to go into fashion, and I always wanted to DJ, and I wanted to be in the wellness space, but I didn't really think that I could, because I looked at all the people that were farther along, that were better at it. And it made me think that I wasn't able to step into the arena. And I think once you have a couple people be like, oh no, you're doing great, just keep going. It's that little push that you need.
Yeah.
And why not you too? I always find that so interesting, right? Like somebody's got to do it. So why not Katie?
Yeah. That's kind of how I started DJing, because that same girl that said you're on your path, I was doing a pop-up one day at a yoga class she was teaching, and they needed a DJ for an event, and their DJ had to cancel for whatever reason. And she came over to me and she's like, I know you can do this. You haven't been doing it in front of anybody, but I know you can do it. And I said no. I was like, I can't. There's no way. Because I don't want to let you down. I don't want to embarrass myself, like all these things that you put on it. And she's like, no, I need you to do it. You're going to do it.
It was your superhero moment right there.
Yeah. And I think that it was that feeling of, well, I'm going to help you out. I guess I'm going to help you out because you don't have any other choice. Like there was nobody else in the room. Like I kind of always am that person, like if there's nobody else in the room that can do something, like I can probably do it. But if there's somebody else in the room that's better, I'm going to default to that person. And I think that stunts your growth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Katie, you've said so much here that I want to, like, something that I want to ask you about. So one thing, have you read Untamed by Glennon Doyle?
No, but someone was just talking about that.
Okay, you would love that book. Steve's read it too. So, yes.
That's where I heard it.
Yeah, it's a very good book.
I think you would really love it. And something that reminds me about what you're sharing is she talks about what would life look like if I didn't get all the memos, like the memo that like, oh, you're supposed to do this, it's supposed to look like this, have this plan, stay on the path. I think, especially for women, we're really encouraged not to deviate too much.
Yeah.
And so I love all the things you're sharing about just like betting on yourself, giving it a chance, doing it and creating it more fluidly and freely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though you're not sure.
I think what we forget is that all those people that are doing something that they're really good at, they had to suck for a while until they got to where they are. And it's like, I always had this notion that people are just born with this innate talent. Oh, well, you can play soccer really well. You were just born being able to play soccer. But were you? I mean,
well, it gets people off the hook. That's just a way for people to be off the hook, because they just think. I always tell people, Tom Brady he was the backup quarterback for freshman year of high school for an 0-8 football team. Process that, and he's the greatest of all time, arguably by so many people, but started from the worst position ever to get to his point.
Yeah. And I think that you have to really love something. Because if you don't really love it and you're doing it for some other reason, whether it's money or image or whatever it is, you're not going to go through the part where you stuck.
Yeah.
You love something, you're just going to love it.
Yeah. And
the other side.
And Katie, that's something that comes across, I think, so strongly in the brand that you created. I mean, like your love, your passion, it's called BKind City. It's all related to the city of good neighbors. Can you talk about how you created that and how you've grown it and your heart that's like informed that?
Yeah. So I think the funny thing about the brand, if you've been here from day one, is you've probably seen it go through so many evolutions because I've gone through so many evolutions and it's just kind of grown up with me. Like when we first started, it was something I did for my friends for Christmas, and I had no intention of it being anything. And then it just was something where a friend of a friend started asking like, hey, can I get one of those? And I would just do another small run of something. And then that small run just kind of kept happening. And I just remember thinking like, people still want this? Like, cool, but what? It was like so bizarre. And the sweatshirt that you're wearing, that I'm wearing, this print, it's actually a spin-off of my mom's college sweatshirt from the 60s. So I took the layout of it and I just kind of put things in it. So I started doing Buffalo stuff because when I worked at a bar that at the time, this is how long ago this was, we had a dress code, and the dress code was like the worst. But they said if you wear Bill stuff, then you can wear jeans. So I was like, okay, cool, loophole. But I couldn't find any Bill stuff that I felt was my style. So I started making Buffalo stuff in red, white, and blue. And I was like, here's my loophole. So that's kind of how it started. And then that was
shout out to the Bills Mafia for that, huh?
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the classic entrepreneur, like there's a problem and you create a solution for it. And
yeah.
then there it is. Yeah.
So that's kind of that. But yeah, so then it's funny because when it first started, I was very into streetwear. So I was inspired by Shepard Fairey and Obey, things like that. And I just remember thinking, well, this is what I'm going to do because that's cool and people are going to like it. But there was always this thing where I felt disconnected because it wasn't really what I wanted, but it's what I thought people wanted. And I think that it wasn't until I started to do what I wanted where I saw the brand start to pick up a little bit more momentum. Like what I'm wearing right now is what I wear probably 90% of the time. Leggings, some kind of sweatshirt, t-shirt, like a cool jacket, like a mala, and like I'm out the door. And when I started kind of modeling the brand after that sweat to street kind of athleisure stuff, I saw that it became more relatable. So at the time when it first started, I was just going through a lot of different kinds of heartbreak. I was going through romantic heartbreak. I was going through the death of a parent. And I was going through this evolution of all the different things that you kind of go through in your 20s, where you haven't really found yourself, but at the same time, you don't really know where to look. So all the things that I was putting out quote wise were things I wanted to say. And before there was the clothing, there was actually a secret Instagram. And it was the Instagram where I felt comfortable to say all the things without having myself on display. And it was probably the most of myself on display I'd ever put, but not having to attach my name to it, it made me so much more authentic with it. And I started to see that people were connecting to the content. And then when the clothing happened, I kind of just put the two things together. So that's kind of how it happened. So now if you look at the brand then and you look at the brand now, I'm more into like cool home decor and yoga inspired things because that's kind of what I've grown into now, kind of where I'm at. So that's
and
go through more evolutions.
And also remind us, this also pretty much started out of your car, correct?
Yeah. What's funny is I literally used to just like roll around with stuff in my car. We call it a trunk sale, but it was literally a trunk sale out of my trunk.
Midnight runs to get t-shirts and stuff and then dropping things off.
Yeah. And it was so funny because at the time I wasn't really doing it for money. I was doing it for the love of it. So I can't even process how much money I lost because I would just be there and I would just be handing sweatshirts and t-shirts out because I love
t-shirts. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was an accidental thing because it got people wearing stuff and then people started to see it. And I think because I wasn't trying to really make a business yet, and I wasn't worried about how much money I was taking in for it.
And Katie, you have people wearing your clothes like all over the world or the country. I mean, tell us where, now this is a Buffalo thing, but there's people wearing your clothes everywhere that reach out to you. Where is like a couple places that are just so random or cool that people have reached out to buy your shirts online from?
Australia is probably the farthest place we've shipped. There was a bunch of tanks that were like a thinner tank. Like, you know, what do they call it? A singlet?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In Australia.
There was there was a guy from Australia. I don't even know how he found us. But he's like, hey, I really love that tank or the singlet, whatever. And it was a women's tank, which, what does that even mean? But
Yeah.
I ended up shipping it to him because he liked the thin style of it. We've shipped to the UK, and something that I kind of learned and tripped over was when I would be in places, I would geotag that place. And I didn't realize at the time that puts your post in a pool of people in that location. So that's how they were able to see it. And I think that's how we ended up reaching people. And then when I would travel, I would always bring stuff with me, and I would give stuff out to people I would meet along the way. And that stayed with people. So we have some people in Japan, like we have some people in the UK that still talk to me and connect with me. So that's kind of
Yeah. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So do you have any advice, Katie, so let's say that there's someone who's a little bit further, behind than you, is like just thinking about getting started. You already shared a lot of wisdom, but what would you share with that entrepreneur?
Do you mind if I'm going to bring you guys with me, because I'm going to get something for you. So my best advice would be just to start. I'm going to pull something and show this to you.
Should we stand up too?
Yeah. Standing ovation. Okay. So this is what I'm calling a disco bomber, because it's like this cool fur bomber. So
what's
on the inside, I printed a message, and I want to read it to you.
Okay.
Awesome.
So it says, if you're reading this, I hope something good happens to you today. Breathe. You're going to be all right. Actually, you're going to be better than all right. You know, all those things you've always wanted to do, go do them. You get to decide who you're going to be and what your life is going to look like. What do you want it to look like? Better yet, what do you want it to feel like? Start now. Start where you are with what you have, but start. You're going to be so good. You already are.
Oh my gosh. Like Kleenex.
So what I hope is that all of the insecurities that I had about if I was good enough to do this, I hope that I can put this kind of thing out there to people and they'll see it. And whatever it is that they want to start, that this gives them that little subtle push to say, like, yeah, I can do it. Because I think you get so stuck in your head with all the reasons why you can't. And it's just the fear that takes over. And I hope that people know that it's okay to fail, because fail forward. Like, failing is information, and it's not really failing. Failing, the word is just, I don't really like the word. I wish there was a better thing I could say, but I think it's great because if I mess up, well, now I know something more. So like if I put a product out and nobody buys it, well, now I know I have information and I can move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Steve. I feel like
I was going to say, Katie, you've definitely had ups and downs throughout that. So what's the voice that you say to yourself? What do you tell yourself in those moments where things might not be going as planned, or you're not selling as many shirts, or what would you recommend to somebody? Because you're not going to always be just this steady growth. What is your advice for that?
So I would say what I personally have done is when I see lulls in sales and I get frustrated and I get nervous, I ask myself, did I get into this to sell shirts? Why did I start doing this? I started doing this because I wanted to connect with people and I wanted to inspire people. So if I have time on my hands, not selling and producing, okay, well, now's my time to go back to basics. And now's my time to connect with my community. So if I'm not selling anything, okay, I don't need to sell anything right now. That money will come and go. But maybe now is my time to go find those quotes that speak to me and put them out and hope that they speak to someone else. Or maybe reach out to the people that I'm interacting with and have more than that singular interaction that maybe I'm too busy to dive into, and maybe take the time to really dive into those.
That's really great, Katie. I love that you started with, why am I doing this? And remembering that, it's so good. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And your social media presence, if we can talk about that for a minute,
Sure.
I feel is so strong. And I know I've messaged you at least once recently to just say, I really appreciate it.
Yes, I saw you do that.
I really needed to hear that. So thank you, first of all. And can you just talk a little bit more about that? And I love the people that you feature, the community that you feature. It does really feel like you. So can you talk about your social media presence and how you share?
So something that I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to step away a little bit from using my own voice and highlight people, because something that happens a lot is we'll get flooded with DMs of people that are, honestly, most of them aren't usually from Buffalo, but they're people that are looking for that 15 seconds of fame. And I am appreciative that you found us and you want that, but it's just, that's not what I'm after. And I don't want to utilize people that have this strong following to hopefully draft against. Or draft with. That's not what I'm after. I think that we'll grow at the rate that we're meant to grow. And when I feature someone, I want it to be so much more than a pretty face. I want it to be a beautiful soul. Because I think the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to click on that person and you're going to say, okay, well, what are they about? What do they represent? Because I'm not looking for a model. I'm looking for a brand rep, somebody that we stand behind for what they stand for. So I started to think that I was making a mistake by only photographing them, because I wasn't really showing who they are. So all people got to see was this beautiful person doing something cool. So what I've started to do now is I ask people, hey, send me a video talking about anything that you want to talk about, because I want to give them the creative freedom. Because if there's someone that I already have kind of pulled into our orbit, I trust wherever they want to go with it, I'm behind it. So I've had people start building their own story captions or taking videos and talking, because I want it to be a community. I don't want it to be a me. I would almost rather kind of fade into the background a little bit and have people that are new not necessarily know who I am or that I'm involved, because I want them to feel that it's an us thing. I want them to not really know who's in charge, and for them to just feel that it's this community of people together. Because I think that it's easier for people to want to jump on board if it already feels like a strong community of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you become like the director or the producer, and you're not like the actor anymore.
Right.
You're behind the scenes.
Right.
Yeah.
Plug my computer in, but keep going.
Yeah.
I'm forever running on like 10% battery. Okay.
Well, I mean, isn't that a metaphor for really owning your own business and being an entrepreneur, of just
literally
where you don't, maybe you can talk about, and I know I've experienced this, of how do you balance time for yourself, self-care, and then time to work, so you make sure that, because you want to still be able to show up. So what does that look like for you?
I am really bad at policing myself. It's something that I struggle with a lot. And I think that what I've been doing just lately, like just even the past couple weeks that's been helping, is I'm breaking my day up into certain things. So at night, maybe call it 6 o'clock at night, I do not allow myself to do any more computer work. because at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, my boyfriend comes home from work and we start cooking, like we as in he starts cooking. And it's nice because he actually got in the habit of putting his phone in the bedroom, and it kind of forced me to follow suit. So we have that moment where we connect and we hang out and we catch up with each other. And then if he wants to sit down and watch TV or something, it's really hard for me to not just want to grab my computer and sit on my computer, because I could be doing work at the same time.
Mhm.
And I think that when you're running your own business, you constantly feel like, well, I need to catch up on XYZ, but you're not really ever getting ahead. You're just always, because there's always going to be something more and something more to do. And I think that if you're constantly putting your body and your soul in this hamster wheel of rushing, I can't even imagine like the physical effect that that has, but the emotional effect is that you literally feel like you're constantly running a race.
Yeah.
Something that's been helping
A
me.
race that never ends.
A race that never ends. Like ever. Like you're on the amazing race and like, you're losing. And it's hard. And I know that we all struggle with this, is waking up in the morning and not checking my phone is ridiculously harder than it should be. So what I've started doing is I will go to YouTube and I'll look up a 5-minute meditation, because first of all, I'm still pretty tired. I don't really want to wake up yet. And it allows me to force myself, okay, well, I don't have to get up yet. And if I can't sit still for a 5-minute meditation in bed, I have such bigger problems. So I'll do that. And then once I do that, it's been a good tone, because it kind of starts my day on a little bit more of a calmer vibe. And then even something simple, when I'm in the shower, I am trapped there, so I can't be doing anything. So what I'll do is, because I struggle with sitting down and listening to a meditation, I would love to get to that point, but I'm not there. So if I can trap myself in the shower and listen to something on YouTube, whether it's some kind of like Jordan Peterson or something like that, or just a meditation I'll listen to, that if that's the best I can do for myself, that's good enough for me right now.
Those are great suggestions.
Yeah.
You're speaking our language.
Yeah, you're totally speaking our language, and about starting in the morning and the different ways it can look like, just and for you to start on the foot and the way that you want to.
I had to buy like a meditation seat just to like create it. So, because before I was just sitting on the ground and like that just wasn't working. And now I have like an actual meditation pillow, and I never thought I'd love it, but I actually look forward to it now. And I have my like little spot in my own class of meditation to sit down.
Yeah.
And that makes me, because I can see it. If I don't do it, then it's like, oh, there's your seat you didn't take this morning there, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Meditation police are coming for me, right?
Yeah. And it's one of those things that I think is so subtle, because I got caught up in the, oh, I don't really need to do it. I'm fine. I can just start working. But it's one of those things that I think when enough time passes and I haven't done it, I start to really see the difference.
Yeah.
What happens when I am and I'm not.
Right.
Totally. I notice when it's not there. If
Yeah.
I fall off for a little bit, I completely, and it has this compounding effect. So just doing that little bit every day really multiplies, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm curious about, where do you get your most creative ideas? And the reason I'm asking is because obviously, like, that's part of your brand, is you're creating new things and you feeling inspired. And I find in my busy days, it's sometimes really challenging to have the space for that. And actually, a place that I get a lot of ideas is when I'm in the shower, because like you said, you're trapped and there's nowhere else to go, and it's quieter, and it's just, so I feel like that's where I get a lot of ideas, whether it's for writing or for, I don't know, like,
that sounds like a design for a t-shirt right there. I get my ideas in the shower.
I get my ideas in the shower. I do. I mean, definitely. So I'm just curious, like, where do you get most of your ideas from, or do you have like a certain situation or place that you get creative?
So I would say it's a little bit of a couple things. So I think you have to kind of keep creative things around you. So whether that's going to like Pinterest. Pinterest is, as corny as it may seem, it's such a good place for me personally to find inspiration, because it really allows my like wild ADD to just thrive, because I can do, ooh, house stuff, ooh, BKC stuff. Like I can be here, there, and everywhere, and I'm getting these bursts of inspiration. I also think it really helps to have creative people around, because I think it just awakens something when everyone around you is kind of just feeding into that. Because I know that I fall into my environment, whatever it may be. So I have to be really careful about the environments I put myself in. Because if I'm on a bridge full of people doing ridiculous things, like I'm gonna be doing ridiculous things. So like I need to be on a bridge full of yogis, like eating grass. Like that's what I'm doing.
That's why we're friends. That's why we're friends.
Right. It works. And I think it's finding, and those people, they kind of keep you in check while allowing you the space to, and I think they also allow you the space to let your ideas kind of come alive, where they give you the space to say like, okay, it's not fully formed yet. That's okay. Like, let's figure it out, as opposed to some people that are naysayers in a sense, where it doesn't make sense to them. So they just kind of like put it down. So I think the people you're around is really huge. But then like I love weird stuff. Like I love music festivals because of the wild and weird things. Steve introduced me to the whole idea of Burning Man and what it was 12 years ago or whatever. I had no idea. I'd never heard of it.
Right,
and to this day, I still am just mesmerized by the art installations, the inspiration that they put out there, and all the different things.
Yeah, it's unlike anything.
It's unlike anything.
And I've never been, but I too, yeah.
It's just unbelievable. And I think that staying in those environments of creativity is huge. But then back to your point, Jen, about having the space to allow them to kind of come to you is big too. Because when I'm in a good routine of meditating, which that whole sentence just sounds weird, routine and meditating, but when I'm there and I feel that my mind is quieter, I find that these ideas come to me where it almost feels like gifts from the universe. Like, did I really just make that up, or did someone kind of like drive by, give me something?
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that. Yeah, because it's like I also find that for myself, having structures in place, it actually allows for creativity more. Because if I feel like I'm scattered and all over the place, I don't even know which end is up. So like the creativity's not happening.
Yeah.
No, I feel that same way with whether it's yoga, meditation, or running. It's like, whoa, there's an idea. Like, whoa, there's an idea. Yeah. They come out of nowhere.
Yeah. I almost think sometimes if you ask for it, whatever you believe in, I believe that we're getting help in different ways. And I think that sometimes if I say, hey, I really want to do this, like, I really, really want this. Is my intention good? Is what I'm trying to do good? Okay, then I believe that the universe is going to be behind me. So I'm going to put that out there and I'm going to see what opens up. And I'm just going to trust it and I'm going to go with it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you introduce me to the book The Alchemist? I feel like.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, this is The Alchemist right here.
You just quoted this, but I feel like you handed me that book at some point.
You gave that to Steve, Katie?
I feel like you did. And I've gifted that to so many other people, but I feel like you were the first person to gift me that book. Shout out.
Shout out. That's so perfect because I know that's one of Steve's favorite books. And maybe that's where I even got it from. I can't remember now, but I remember hearing a lot about it.
Circle of life right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you really want something, the universe conspires to make it happen.
Okay, well, I'm going to put this out loud into the world and tell you what I want, and maybe you two can help make it happen. This is what I want for BKC.
Okay.
I want to have a home base, and I want to call it home base because Buffalo has always been my home base. No matter where I fall around the world, I always come back here. And whenever we do festivals or events, people always come back to our tent and they call it home base. So that's what I want it to be. But what I want is I don't want a retail space. I want there to be an annex for a yoga studio. I want there to be a healthy foods juice bar and BKC all in one. I think all three things would feed really well into each other. And I think that it's kind of what we're already doing anyways. And I want there to be a space. And I know that the world is weird and retail is dying and it's scary to have a brick and mortar. But I think those three things together are such a good combination that it can't fail. And then what I would love is to have a really cool mobile truck. So some kind of like food truck, but a mobile BKC truck to take to the different pop-ups. And that's how we keep getting our vibe and our message out there. But we also have the grounded roots of having that. So.
Oh my gosh.
You're magic.
Thanks
like
for
the idea.
sharing that with us. I mean, yeah, like you heard it here first.
Yes. Yeah. I hope that when it happens, we can come back and reference this little clip.
Totally.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing. And Katie, I just want to acknowledge you because ever since, I haven't known you as long as Steve has, but ever since I first met you, I mean, you totally shine authentically. And like, I just like every single thing that you create and you do is 100% infused with who you are. And that's why people love what you create so much. I think because everything about you is right there in it. So I'm like, just totally love everything that you've done. And I hope to see way more and maybe we can be a part of that in some way.
I would love that. I genuinely think I used to have this, I don't know how this is going to go over, but I used to have this love-hate relationship with Buffalo, where I was always just trying so hard to move to another city because I wanted to do something cool. And I remember my mom would always tell me, she's like, you're going to realize someday that this city is what made you and it's made you who you are. And I think as I get older, I realize how much I couldn't have done this. I'm pretty confident in saying that. Like, and I hate to say, oh, I can't, but I don't think I could have done this in another city. Because I think the support and the openness that everybody has in the city is something that I haven't necessarily experienced in big cities where you kind of lose that connectedness and people are more transient.
Mm-hmm. And isn't that the last life lesson of the alchemist is he gets back and he finds his treasure exactly where he left?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Here. I got to chill from
Yeah.
That is so true. Yeah, what a beautiful place to end our conversation. Is there, unless there's anything else, Katie, that you want to share, we just want to make sure people know where they can find BKC merchandise and where they can find you online and all the things.
Sure. So I would say the best place to start is to go to our Instagram, because right in our Instagram, you're going to see so many different things. So in the highlights, what I've done is I've created these Instagram highlights that have a bunch of different awesome quotes that I hope speak to people. It has community events. It has all these different things that I think would just be a good place to kind of get a feel for who we are. Our website is right in the bio, but more importantly, it will be a place for you to find all the events that we do. So you can find all of our product on our website, which is linked in the bio. But if you want to follow along with the journey of everything, you'll find that just by finding us at pop-ups. And then maybe someday you'll find us and walk into our home base. That would be my
home base.
And Katie, what's your Instagram handle?
So it's at BKind City, but there's no E. So it's BKind CITY.
Perfect.
Yeah, and if anyone needs anything, you can always just send me a message.
Love it. Thank you so much. This has been awesome having time with you today. And we just really love everything that you're creating.
Thank you. It was a really good way to kind of break up my day with you guys. You set a really good tone.
Good. I'm glad. Well, thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you.
And we have one final question.
Oh, yeah. So, I was just about to stop recording. Thank goodness I didn't.
Yeah. So we ask all of our guests at the end, 3 things. What makes you laugh? What makes you cry? And what inspires you?
Well, honestly, everything makes me cry. I'm a big crier. So I will see what I think what makes me cry is when I see true human connection. And I think that I just feel it when I see, we were at Mother's one night having dinner, and I saw this family. It was a mom, dad. It was a couple. It was an older couple eating dinner, and it reminded me of my parents. And then I saw a girl come in, and she had yoga clothes on, and she sat down, and they started having this great dinner. And I just stared at them for a moment, and I just looked at Jordan, and I just started crying because I saw myself in that. And I think what's been making me cry lately is more the good side of tears, like the human connection, because I feel like I'm wound so tight, and I think that I don't really allow myself to sit back as often as I would like. So I think when I have these moments where I see connection, it almost stops time for a moment, and it allows me to really feel what's going on over there, and which I think is kind of cool. What makes me laugh? I don't know if I'd say anything in particular, but there are just certain people in my life that just being around them, you start laughing. You don't even know why you're laughing. So I'd say what makes me laugh is a person that doesn't maybe take themselves too seriously. You're a great example of that, because it just kind of breaks that barrier down of like being wound so tightly that you just kind of allow like everything to shake out.
Great.
What was the last part?
What inspires you?
Oh, what inspires me? What inspires me is things that I find relatable. So if I see a quote, or if I see something that speaks to my soul at that moment, that inspires me to want to take that and keep it moving forward so someone else can see it. So whatever it is that I got out of that, maybe someone else will. And I think that's why books or something, or music or anything like that, is something that touches us so much, because it's this universal truth that we can all find a piece of ourselves in. And I think when you find something relatable, it makes you feel like you're not alone and you're not the only one going through this. So that's what I would hope BKC would be for people, is a place that they find comfort and relatability to know that they're not alone.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Katie. You are an inspiration to so many. And I'm so glad that you were able to tell your story and everybody can hear that, because it's so important to see what's behind all of this and really see you. So I'm proud to be part of watching your journey from the beginning and that we still get to share this, and just watching you grow in a direction of continuing to be a beautiful soul, and for you to be able to continue to share what you've always had, and then other people can receive that too as well. So thank you for being here with us and for sharing.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Katie. Yeah. All the best.
Thank you.